listening to The Tide Pod, hosted by your friendly neighborhood PhD. So, hey, everybody, it's another edition of The Tide Pod. And today I'm joined by Conor McAuley, who is a digital creator. He's also living with muscular dystrophy. So, we're just going to, have kind of a back and forth about disability experience and, everything related to that and more, maybe. So, thanks again for joining.
No worries at all. I really appreciate you having me on. I think we're two good people to maybe talk about this subject. Have the lived experience. I always think that's like the most important thing, to be honest.
Absolutely. More of a day in the life of,
Yeah.
living with it and everything. Yeah. So it's definitely, I can relate. But yeah, if you just want to start out a little bit about just you in general and any, like highlights or anything you want to share starting off.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Connor. I'm a 23-year-old man from Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, just outside of Dublin. And for me, I sort of got into the space maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I have a version of muscular dystrophy called Duchenne. And yeah, it was when COVID sort of came. So in Ireland, we locked down in March of 2020, and I really had nothing else to do. I was in my last year of high school, and yeah, there was nothing really for me to do. So I just thought, why not raise awareness in this time where people I thought really needed it. So yeah, that's sort of like a little brief intro to why I sort of started with my awareness and activism and
Yeah.
content creation. So yeah, I'm a very open book. I think there's not just well, we're not just our disability. There's so much more to us. So I do love music, I do love sport, and I do love animals as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, just like a mix there.
That's really great, because I do think that people, kind of lose touch with the idea of someone with a disability like this, having other areas of life that aren't really related in any way to the diagnosis, so that's a perfect start. It's kind of the idea that we're these well-rounded, people like anybody.
Yeah.
So yeah. What was the pandemic like for you over there? Just a little bit of like, how you dealt with it. Like, did you feel more or less isolated, anything like that?
Yeah, over here in Ireland, it was very strange. We locked down, I think it was a week before the US, if I remember right.
Mhm.
Would have been early March. I think it was like March the 10th or March the 11th.
Yeah.
So we shut down, and yeah, it was very hard, to be honest. Like my whole thing of I was in school at the time, and I was used to having people around me every single day, and that
Mhm.
went from just being in my family home the whole time. Just it was really strange because I remember as well, a big thing in Ireland at the time was looking at the numbers on the news to see how many people had the virus, and
Yeah.
how many like people unfortunately died from it. So it was a really weird time, and we had this thing at the worst stage of it where we're only allowed to travel 2.5 kilometers from our houses, so we weren't allowed anywhere outside of that. As it
Yeah.
got, as things started to improve with the situation, it was about I think 5 kilometers, then it went to 10, and then just kept going up. But yeah, it was a really strange
Yeah.
time. What about you? What was it like in the US
Oh,
for
it
you?
was very much the same. I was living in New Mexico at the time, and it's being in like a very rural, small community and everything, and it was like watching the walls kind of close in around, because we really had low numbers to start out with, and then it was just like you said, watching the numbers on the news and seeing how many were affected, and it's just was in this chaos mode, and
Yeah,
I was a
exactly.
postdoc at the university at the time, and
Hmm.
obviously transitioning work to almost 100% virtual, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was not a great time, I don't think for really any of us. But
No.
what was your like school like? Did they shift to online, and like did they have a system kind of in place, or was it just like chaos basically?
It was chaos. What we got
Yeah.
told originally was we'd be off for 2 weeks, and we'd go back in like nothing happened. And the way it
Hmm.
works in Ireland is you have an exam at the end of sort of your high school experience before you're looking into maybe a college course. So our exams got cancelled, and it was all predicted grades. So I never actually
Yeah.
got to sit my like test. They call it the Leaving Cert over here, and
Hmm.
I never got to sit the exam. So it was all just based on I don't know just like work you've done over the year, I suppose.
Yeah.
I think that's how they got the
Yeah.
grades anyway. So yeah, it was a really weird thing, but yeah, I that's how it sort of ended for me.
Yeah. Did you have any kind of like graduation ceremony at all, or what was that like with it? No.
No, none of that at all. And
Yeah.
in Ireland, there would usually be like certain things you do when you graduate.
Right.
But for my sort of year, so what age was I at the time? I think I was like 18 or something like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, it just sort of ended, and that was it. It was like that period of your life is over, and
Right.
yeah, that's it. Like
That
that's it. Like it's so strange.
Right. Yeah. You just have to roll with it at that point. It was really,
Yeah,
really strange.
literally.
But how about now? Like, how has it changed for you since then? Like, are you going to like university, or what's your current kind of outlook?
Yeah. So at the moment, I am at the university, but I've sort of thought about going back a couple of times. I still haven't made my decision on that, but I think sort of like education stuff and sort of getting more education is really important. So yeah, I think that would be something that I would definitely be interested in. It just
Yeah,
depends really because I've been doing like a lot of freelance work. So yeah, I'd have to sort of stop all that for my energy and stuff like that, you know, yourself. It's just hard
absolutely.
to balance things at times. So
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
hard to make decisions. So at the moment I'm currently freelancing, but yeah, college I may
Yeah.
have to go back to because I'd love to have like a full-time job. Because I feel like with freelancing, if I have any appointments or anything, it's really hard to sort of reschedule things. So
Very
yeah,
inconsistent too, probably.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And it can be like some weeks, you know, you'll have nothing, and other weeks you'll have everything, and then everything
Yeah.
for me sort of seems to come at the same time. So I'm
Yeah.
sort of just a bit like, oh, I don't know, you know.
Yeah. I totally feel that doing like the podcasting and stuff too. It's like for some reason, certain weeks you have just a wave of everything at once, and then it's like downtime. It's hard to
Yeah.
kind of get any kind of routine. But what has that balance been like for you as far as like, you know, your progression with the muscle weakness and everything is
Mhm.
like, have you found kind of that fine line where you can, you know, you like know exactly how to handle it?
I think for me, like I've been very lucky with this condition. I feel like a lot of people are worse off than me. So
Mhm.
I don't know. It's very strange. Like with my numbers, the doctors always, you know, thought it was maybe like an intermediate version, but they could
Mm.
never quite tell. So with my exo numbers. But yeah, so it was always a weird thing for me as well growing up and sort of relating to people with the condition because I always felt sort of isolated in a sense, like I
Mhm.
was on my own. So yeah, for me as I've gotten older though, I've really just noticed like I need to sort of keep my energy in some ways to do some important things. Like I can't just be doing everything. It takes me time to recover. Even I was away in New York a couple of days ago, and
Yeah.
like I was there with my family and stuff, just my sisters, and they could keep going, and I was just like, no, I need to go to bed. Like I was
I have
like,
to I have
I'm
to
not
stop.
like I'm not 17 anymore, or 16 or whatever. I'm just like,
Yeah.
come on, I need to just stop and just take my time. Yeah, it's more so as well reserving energy. That's like the big thing. So just being able to reserve energy and get good sleep and stuff like that, like have a good routine.
Yeah. Yeah. That I mean, there's some level of routine seems to be good. It seems like for I mean, for
Yeah,
sure in my case too, you know, and even if you just have a small amount, like a few things that you do to kind of keep that going, it seems like it helps.
yeah,
Yeah. So
definitely
like
does
your
help.
diagnosis journey, what was that like? Did you do a test like when you were younger and was it confirmed to be intermediate or do you have like an exact diagnosis on it?
So I was 3.5, and it was 2005. I know you're a bit older than me, so maybe you
Yeah.
remember that time, but I don't at
Yeah.
all. So yeah, I was 3.5, and my mother was bringing me around for maybe a year and a half to
Hmm.
different doctors. And I'm a twin, so a lot of the doctors would just say, "Oh, he's just lazy. He's letting his twin do it, and he'll
Oh,
grow out of
wow.
this." So that was like a big thing she would get told, but she just knew there was something wrong, so she wouldn't stop until she found out what was wrong. And
So they first thought it was just laziness. That was how they,
yeah, it was just laziness, and I would grow out of it. And because I had a twin, I was
wow.
sort of dependent on her. So it
Yeah.
was a really strange thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, then I was 3.5 in 2005, and yeah, finally got the diagnosis. I think one of my numbers was all over the place. You know, when you're getting tested for DMD, and I don't know the exact name for it, but my
Yeah.
numbers were way over the top than what they should have been anyway. And since then, I've, you know, had my wheelchair around and stuff like that. I haven't had to always use it, but I've had it in the
Mhm.
background. And yeah, it's just been a journey since then. I know with yourself, I don't know if I'm right here saying this, but were you misdiagnosed a couple of times, or am I
Yeah.
way
So
wrong?
I had a test done. It was just a blood test. Way
Hmm.
back, let's see, I was probably, I want to say around 10, 9, somewhere in that range.
Hmm.
But basically I had been told up until a couple of years ago when I dug into my medical history that it, you know, it was for certain Duchenne. And then I
Hmm.
realized like for some reason I was going through all the old records and I found that it said that it wasn't confirmed. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of strange. So I did
Hmm.
one of these mail-in saliva kits recently and got the
Hmm.
results back, and it did come back that it's kind of an intermediate. So it's interesting you mentioned, you
Oh,
know, kind of
okay.
being in the middle, but
Hmm.
yeah, I guess for like official diagnosis, I still use DMD, but if we're going to get really, really technical, it's somewhere in between, which it's kind of an arbitrary number. And like they try to be like, well, if you do this thing by this age, you know, that
Hmm.
you're in the middle. But yeah, it's kind of strange that whole diagnostic thing with it. But
Yeah,
in
it
the
very
end, it
much
didn't
is.
change symptoms. I mean, like there's no treatments obviously for
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
So yeah. But I don't know what was it like when you got your. Well, I guess when you were old enough to kind of understand
Yeah.
what it meant and like what was that like for you?
Well, it was really tough, because at the start I didn't get told I actually had an intermediate version. So that's why when I was growing up, I was really confused. I was just like, why
Yeah,
am I not like everybody else with this condition? And I think as I've grown up though, I sort of realized that we're all different and nobody's the same, even if you
yeah,
have, this condition. Some
right,
people may show symptoms differently over time. It just depends. And yeah, I really struggled as a teenager, really struggled with my mental health, and I couldn't really accept it. I actually did
right,
get retested, and they were thinking, oh, it may be Becker's because I was doing so well up until I
right.
was like 16, 17. And then it came back as Duchenne, but they just said, oh, here, we think it's an intermediate version, but we couldn't quite tell. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't really know, to be honest,
It,
really the way it is.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's not much you can do with it, even though it's nice to have it confirmed, I guess. But did your doctors like what was their approach to trying managing like maintaining strength? Did they offer any kind of ideas for you on that worked?
Yeah, so when I was five, I started taking steroids, 5 years old, and
Yeah,
I took them up until I was 10 years old. But unfortunately, I was starting to get side effects.
yeah,
My parents just said like I wasn't myself, and I just was acting out and stuff like that. So they just thought it was the best decision at the time to take
yeah,
me off them. So yeah, I was on those for 5 years of my life.
yeah,
So I still do take medication now, but it's not steroids.
yeah.
More so keeping things, healthy, such as my heart and stuff like that. I also
Right.
wear like the BiPAP machine at night. So
Oh,
yeah, just
okay.
like little things like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think in America, like it works different because I know with your healthcare, like you don't have free healthcare, which is crazy in this day and age. But sure,
Well,
look.
there's all kinds of just complexities and insurance limits, and I mean
Yeah.
it's a mess kind of, but yeah, I definitely, I relate to the steroids thing, on that. I took
Mm.
it, I think I took prednisone for about 2 or 3 years or so back,
Hmm.
like middle school, high school range. And yeah,
Yeah.
the side effects for me, I mean, they were drastic, and took away from
Yeah.
everything, and the things they said that it would help with obviously was maintaining strength and everything. Well,
Hmm.
for me, the side effects kind of it countered or canceled it out, and
Hmm.
so it was just, my parents and I both were just like, we need to get off, and quality of life kind of becomes the bigger issue, I think, at that
Hmm.
point.
Yeah, exactly. I think
Yeah,
that's exactly it, and I think as well, like as I sort of mentioned at the start, we're not just our condition, like life is for living as well. So if there's, of course there's going to be benefits, but if the negatives are outweighing the benefits, then you really have to just think and see what the best decision is for you.
yeah, yeah. Has your support system been pretty good on like where your parents, did they kind of allow you to make some of the decisions or be, involved in all of that over the years?
Yeah, they really have. Like when I got to
Yeah,
a certain age, they really did allow me to sort of say, like, here, it's up to you, and this is your life, and you sort of decide what to do. Of course, they
yeah,
want the best for me, so they would give me advice and stuff, and
right.
say, maybe this may not be the best thing, but in the end, it's up to you. So yeah, really, they have. What about you on that side? Have your parents sort of let you roll with the
Definitely.
punches in a sense?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And one of the big things was like the steroids, and deciding to go off. Like it was a team decision, and all three of us were, in agreement on that. But I think it's really empowering when you do have a support system that, is that way for you, growing up for sure. And then one other thing I wanted to mention too, and I don't know if your experience is the same, but as far as like going to doctor's appointments and, you can have a
Mhm.
wave of, you can probably see a different specialist every month or
Yeah,
something, and you can quickly fill up
yeah.
your time with medical health related things, and
Mhm.
obviously that's like a big mental health drain too.
Yeah,
Um,
of course.
but what has that been like with your care team and medical? Have you found like a good balance there where you do just, what's really necessary on appointments and things?
Yeah, so the way it would work for me is that I would usually see my big team maybe once a year, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, other things have happened as well. Like I've broken my hip and I had to get metal put in, so I
Ooh,
have to get injections like every 3 or 4 months. So there's different things that come along with this that people forget as well. Like so yeah, there's just like my big appointment would be once a year, but I'd definitely keep in touch with my doctors and stuff like that, and for other related things such as my hip. And yeah, I heard you
yeah.
saying the ooh, and it was painful. It was painful.
That I was going to ask you that. So is that like a full surgical procedure that they did?
Yeah, it was a full procedure that they did. I actually broke my femur first off, which was
Ooh. Oh,
so
wow.
sore.
Yeah.
Um, when I was like 17, I think so. I was still up on my feet and walking, and I really wanted to keep walking. I think I was
Yeah.
in like a denial phase at that time. And unfortunately, I fell and broke my femur. And then I got back up on my feet again afterwards. I don't know
Yeah.
how. I was just doing a bit of like house walking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And for the femur, I didn't have to get surgery, but for the hip, unfortunately, I had to get like metal plates and stuff put in.
Was that the
So
same side as like, were they both on the same leg
yeah, on the
basically?
same
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
Yes, on the right
And
side.
one, I guess were they both from the same fall or did like one lead to another?
Well, they didn't really know. They just sort of said that maybe it could have led because they were like 3 or 4 years apart.
Mm,
So
okay.
They weren't too sure, but they said that could have been a possibility. It's
Yeah.
sort of just guessing games, I feel, with this condition sometimes.
Well, yeah, that's for sure. What was the surgery like recovery process like? Did you find that it changed your strength, or do you feel like it negatively affected you in other ways?
I think for me, more so at that time, I felt my strength was sort of the same. I felt like my walking was coming to an ending anyway. I was
Mm,
just getting sores on my feet, and it really just wasn't worth it anymore. But the one thing I did do afterwards was I actually gained a lot of weight. So when I was a kid, I would have gained a lot of weight from steroids and then lost the
right.
weight. And then after that break, I wasn't really as active as much, really doing anything. I was sort of just
Hmm.
sitting around and yeah, just going along my day. And yeah, I just would have gained a lot of weight. So
Yeah,
that would have been the only thing I would have felt like strength wise at the time. I sort of
yeah.
felt very similar or the same.
And the anesthesia, I'm assuming they used for you with the operation and everything. Do you feel like that had after effects or anything with ND or otherwise?
Well, they use like a special sort of type of one,
Okay.
because I know there's risks with MD and certain types of anesthetics. So they
Yeah.
use like a back procedure. So they put like needles in my back. I know it sounds very painful, but
Yeah.
instead of doing it just the original way, they did it that way. So yeah, it was a little bit different, but I
Yeah.
was okay afterwards. I felt a bit like drowsy and sleepy for maybe a day or
But
two,
no
but
long
otherwise I
term.
was okay. No, no
Yeah.
long
Yeah.
term, which was
Well,
good.
that's good to hear. I have had one surgery only, and that was with this gallbladder situation a few years back. And,
Hmm.
I still feel like that has, the negative impacts on like the
Yeah.
progression of everything and the hospital stay
Hmm.
and all that was just pretty detrimental. So I'm glad to hear that it seems like yours was, I mean, obviously there were parts of it that were hard, but at least maybe it was
Hmm.
short lived enough to where you can recover quicker. So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And I think here in Ireland, like they like to get things done quickly, and it's a
yeah,
lot of the same team of doctors as well. Like I'd say in the US, it's completely different than here.
yeah.
So it was easy enough because I was used to the people who were maybe around me as well. And
That has
I
to
know
make a
this isn't
difference.
I know this isn't a great thing, but breaking the femur, like I was used to the same staff and stuff like that afterwards, like 3 or 4 years later. So
Right.
I don't know. I wouldn't say
Well,
that's
there's
a
a silver
positive, but
lining at least. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, since then, like, you feel like the progression is kind of stabilized, or are there still like parts of, that you've kind of gone through phases maybe where it was accelerated or anything? Like, how has that been for you?
I think for me, the biggest thing was, losing my ability to walk. And that was like still the biggest thing for me. I think otherwise, I was never much so the type to be into really like heavy, sport or exercise or anything like that. So I think with me, I've always kept on the same balance. Maybe some things I feel like I block out because I don't want to remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's sort of that hard thing of like knowing if you have, gotten weaker over the years. I feel like maybe at one point I would have had a bit more energy, but I feel okay on that point, but I could definitely tell a little bit of a difference.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. It seems like it's nice when it's not, accelerating or anything where you can just get used to where you're at and get into a flow that way.
Exactly.
So yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's that's the thing, and I think as well, like as I sort of said earlier, like growing up and seeing other people around me, had progression differently or had progression faster. I haven't really experienced that. It's been sort of a long journey where
Yeah.
things sort of change maybe over a couple of years, and it takes a very long time. So my situation, I'd say that's sort of where I'm at.
Yeah. Yeah. That definitely makes sense. On the sort of the mental health side, what has it been like for you dealing with that? Have you found, ways to sort of, I guess, have some maybe self-acceptance or just,
Mhm.
realize that that's, certain parts of your life, I guess you can't control.
Yeah, exactly. Like I've sort of accepted it and I've sort of just said in my own head that I do accept this and this is my life. But unfortunately, I feel like what I get more affected by is the outside world. Like I feel like
Right.
they don't understand. So that's where my struggles sort of come from. Trying to sort of fit in a society that's not really made for me.
Right.
So yeah, I try like, look after my mental health. I try, go to therapy and stuff like that, but it's expensive.
Right.
So yeah, it's really hard. And they do offer a service here in Ireland, but you would get maybe like 8 sessions and then you'd have to re-sign up again and it'd be like
Mhm.
8 or 9 months later. So that would be one thing I'd actually be big on for this
Yeah.
condition is being able to maybe talk to somebody who's outside your circle about your
Yeah.
issues and being able to just sort of vent and rant in a sense is really
Venting's
important. But
important.
yeah, yeah, it definitely is important. Like I know like having a pet or something like that, helps, but it's
Yeah.
sometimes you need a person to talk to,
Right.
outside your circle.
Right. Right. And I mean, yeah, like you said, the cost of that obviously is, prohibitive to getting therapy and then finding one that can relate enough to what you're
Yeah.
going through, because I feel like there's still that well, it's not really stigma in the sense with therapy,
Hmm.
but they still not all of them can relate enough to help either. So I think that's a difficult thing, finding, somebody that's a fit for sure.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And I feel like, some therapists maybe read our notes and they're like, oh wow, they have this condition, but they've never sort of lived it or they
Yeah.
haven't seen somebody else in their own life live it. So it's sort
Yeah.
of like a hard one. Definitely is.
Yeah. Yeah. But I kind of like to pivot actually to kind of the advocacy and awareness thing, like what are there areas that you've felt that, that have worked really well for kind of getting people to maybe understand or be more open to, realizing, I guess,
Mhm.
how things really are, and that you are still a person.
Yeah, I think with me, like the way I sort of show things on my own social media is I try to show my own life as well, not just my advocacy work, to sort of show that balance is there. And I think people do understand that, advocacy is one part of a person, but it's not all of a person.
Right.
I know I'm going to keep saying that here like the whole
Oh,
time, like,
absolutely.
oh my
Yeah.
God, I love that point.
Yep.
But yeah, that's the way that I sort of show it. And I think people find that a bit more relatable. Like people get in touch with me, maybe their, kids have Duchenne or something that they know have Duchenne, and they're like, it's great that you show that there's another side to it. It's not all just
Yeah.
the medical side of things. So yeah, that would be like a big thing for me. And I think as well, like dealing with, real issues as well. It's not just MD some of these issues affect. It affects like a whole disabled community.
Right.
Even people in other situations, such as older people or people with young kids who may have like buggies or prams. So yeah, there's just like a load of different things. And I think that's the way that people see it. Well, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think keep saying that like as much as you can, about that humanness factor, that because it's
Mhm.
it's real, and regardless if it's MD or even other disabilities, illnesses or anything, I think they're still just as humans, we're like connected by some things just regardless. So
Yeah.
yeah. So I love the fact that you're, still trying to show other sides of you, that are,
Mhm.
I mean, it's really good to talk about and share. So
Yeah.
like what is your approach to content? Do you try to like do video based like how to things? Do you like where are you at right now with that? And maybe is there an area you want to expand on in the future?
Mhm. Yeah, I think for me, I love like writing, and writing is one of my favorite things. So I like
Mhm.
do like posts that have something to do with maybe something I've experienced or
Like
something that I've
storytelling kind
been
of?
thinking about. Sort of like storytelling, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be sort of my way to content.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a bit of a mixed bag though, because I do like a bit of like storytelling. I do a bit
Yeah.
of video in as well, like reels on Instagram. I've done a few of those.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just really depends. Like I couldn't really put myself in one area.
Yeah.
But I do really like storytelling and sort of telling my stories, and I think I just like to see people sort of relate to that and sort of be able to take something from it. I think that's my
Right.
big thing. And I always said to myself, like, if I'm helping at least one person, that's like my main goal. Like, if
Yeah.
my social media wasn't a success or something, that's sort of not what it's about. Like, it was more
Right.
so just to like about
Help
like just
somebody out
raising
there.
awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And like I think some people see social media as like a tool to, get somewhere in their career or something like that. But for me,
Right.
I was
To
always
make
just
money or
like,
take, yeah.
yeah, yeah, if something happens, it happens. If something doesn't, it doesn't. But my main goal was always just to help people. So that was the
That's
big thing.
exactly, yeah, that's exactly how I've approached it too, and trying a different variety of content. Obviously, like the muscle limitations and things sometimes make it where I'm
Hmm.
like, well, maybe I want to do videos because that's a little bit easier to do than
Yeah.
typing out like, a full post or
Hmm.
something. But yeah, I think that multiple forms of media getting out there probably are effective. But the short reels that seems to get reach,
Yeah.
which is good. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
they do seem to get a lot of reach, to be honest. I think for me, sometimes I get nervous on camera. I know it may not show, but sometimes I do, and I'm sort of just
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh, I just want to write and just, go behind like the glass in a sense.
Not have a
It's always
screen in
that
your
type of
face
thing.
showing your, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know how that is too. And like, over the years, I've had people say that, well, you look so calm and like relaxed, like you don't seem nervous at all. I'm like, yeah, but you don't know the inside. So yeah,
Exactly, exactly. You
yeah,
can look one way outside, but on the inside, it's like
I
I'm
think we're
so
good at
nervous.
masking our feelings a little bit in that way. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, have you, I guess, outside of advocacy and everything, like if you want to talk a little bit about like hobbies, how you kind of escape maybe from everything
Hmm.
health, related.
Yeah, but for me, like I love sport and I love music. Like I love going to concerts. Like that's one of my favorite things, or just being able
Yeah,
to like blare out my music. I
yeah,
also do love like sports. So I love soccer. Liverpool are my team. They're a team in England.
yeah.
So yeah, I try to get over there a couple of times a year and maybe watch
Go
their
to
games
live
as
games.
well. Yeah, I go to
Yeah.
live games. Like I love that. Like I think it's so cool instead of like watching it on TV. But yeah, I also do like to travel as well. Like that can
Mm,
have its, difficulties. Having
sure.
a disability and being a wheelchair user, it can be tough. But it's something that I do love to do. Like I love to like experience like new cultures and stuff like that. Also as
Mm,
well, I love animals. So I love like being around animals like dogs and stuff like that.
yeah.
I just can't just love them. Like they're so cute.
Yeah. Do you have any of your own pets too there? Or?
I had a pet, but unfortunately she passed a couple of
Yeah.
weeks ago. So
Oh man.
yeah,
Sorry to
it's
hear.
really tough. It was my
Their
first ever like
family.
proper pet. Exactly, they are family, and yeah, it was my first proper pet. Like I've had
Mhm.
goldfishes and stuff before, but
Yeah.
that was when I was young.
Yeah.
So yeah, she unfortunately passed, and she was 15. So yeah, it was like a part of my heart was sort of taken out. So it was tough. It was really tough, and I completely agree with you. Like they're like family. You're around them every day. So yeah,
Yeah.
I just love pets.
Well, there's that just unconditional, bond that they have. I think that, and it's, I don't know, just such a good energy to, to kind of, I guess, help you kind of cope with a lot of the things going on too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's,
That's the thing.
yeah, that's really tough. I had a little dachshund that my family was really close to, when she was about, I
Hmm.
think 15 or so too, when she passed. And it's never easy, to
Yeah.
go through that. But again, it's worth having them too. I think it's better to have them for what time we can than not. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I think it's just like a good thing to have in your life. Like just
Yeah.
just a cool thing. And
Yeah. I totally agree.
yeah, so that would have been a big thing as well, like, going out for walks with her and stuff like that. But yeah, like I'm a very just like very relaxed person. I just go with the flow in a sense. So
Yeah.
yeah, like I would have those hobbies, and I like my computers as well. I like video editing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Oh, you
yeah,
like
there's just like
video
a lot of different
editing?
things. I actually do like video editing, yeah. It's
That's a
tough
rare
though.
one. I
It's
haven't
really
found many
hard.
yet. Yeah. What's your
It's
strategy
tough.
to editing and everything on that?
Well, for me, like I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, which can be very annoying.
Oh
So
yeah, I know
I
that.
just try to like do different formats. So like if I was to do one video, I'd love to be able to do it in another format. So I'll be able to do like a landscape video and then be able to make it into a portrait video. And yeah, that would be just with me. Like the editing software I'd use as well would be maybe Final Cut Pro and Premiere Pro. I'd say a lot of people
Yeah.
don't know what they are, but yeah, they'd be sort of the thing. So I don't really have like an approach I go for. It just
Yeah.
depends really on the video.
Just what the goal is of the actual content and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. No, I've been trying to do most of mine with the iMovie thing, but it's very basic. Like
Mm,
I'm like
yeah.
I started out in computer science, funny enough, and
Wow.
even now I'm like things are so different than where they were when I was studying that too. So it's like, man, I have to
Yeah.
figure out how to keep up with the social media side of all the tools and
It's
everything. So
I know it is
yeah,
crazy to be honest. Like I know with the whole like AI thing and all, it's just crazy where
that
we're going.
too.
Like it's yeah, crazy.
Do you use any of the AI at all? Do you find that it helps you with anything with your content at all?
Not for my content. I'd use it actually a little bit for grammar because I do have
Nice.
dyslexia. So
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes I'd like put it into like ChatGPT or something and be like,
A few
make sure
less
the grammar is all
typos,
correct on
maybe.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know with some people, like I know they would like be able to do like prompts and commands and be able to plug in programs and stuff like that. But
Right.
for me, like I'm sort of a bit old school in a sense, so I like to just do it the old way.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just easier sometimes to learn a whole new skill, even though I know
Right.
that the time. But I don't know, it's just sort of a nice thing, doing it yourself sometimes.
Yeah. And I mean, like the mental bandwidth to absorb and learn a new software technique
Yeah,
sometimes feels daunting to me. So, that old school approach sometimes is just the way to go.
yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
completely agree there.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as like adaptive tools or anything in your life, like what are some of the best things that kind of help you do what you want to do every day?
Well, I think for me, like I haven't really used on the technology side of things much adaptive tools. Like
Mhm.
I've had like the hand bike, which is really cool, and then the stander. But other than that, like my wheelchair, I'd call it sort of like a tool in a sense. It's being able to get me in and out of
Yeah.
places and in and out of the like out and about the house, I should say. But also as well, I have like a little electric attachment that goes on the front, so that's like
Mhm.
another like really cool thing. That sort of helps me. But other than that, at the moment, fortunately enough, I haven't had to use much
Yeah.
things that are adaptive. Like my family do have like an adapted van, so I've always been okay, going in and out of my wheelchair in the car. So I've been very lucky with that. But otherwise, yeah, I've been lucky for the moment anyway that I haven't had to use much like
To me.
adaptive skills. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. That's good to use just kind of, what you have to at the time. I think that helps a lot. Yeah, the ramp van, obviously, I know how much that helps. There's no way I could really do anything or go anywhere without that.
yeah,
So yeah. And they're so expensive too, but
yeah.
yeah.
So expensive.
Yeah. And getting worse, I think. So I don't know what's gonna happen with the next van I have to look for, but we'll see.
Yeah. It is a tough one, and I know I got told as well that I could drive, but the adaptions that you'd need to have done are just crazy. Like it's so much money.
Like hand
So
controls and things.
yeah, like hand controls and things. Like it'd be even more advanced than the ones that maybe, somebody might use who don't have a lot of strength.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy money though. Like I've gone quoted like, like 80, 70, 90 grand, like in euros.
Right.
So I don't know what that'd be in dollars. So that'd be even more expensive.
I mean, it's just impossible. I don't know how anybody could really afford that much unless they get lucky with like a big grant or some kind of, funding or
Yeah,
crowdsourcing. I don't know, but the expense of that when we don't have enough. I mean, we barely have enough income for daily living
yeah,
expenses, so that's kind of
yeah.
impossible. It feels like, yeah,
Yeah, it is really hard. Like I even read this report in Ireland where it was like it costs you more to, if you have a disability, it might cost you more on average a year than like a normal family would have to pay. So yeah,
yeah,
it is a tough one. And I don't think that's taken into account sometimes.
no, no, I don't think so either. And I mean, it's just the assumption that we can somehow just afford these, extreme expenses when, we're. I mean, I feel like income wise, we're always having extra challenges with that, period. So it's just like, of all things, why would we have to pay more for these tools, to do things we want to
Exactly.
do? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. And I don't know if it's like that where you are, but I've even read like there's some laws here, like if disabled people get married, they lose part of their benefits, if they're getting
Yeah.
any kind of government assistance and everything. But is there stuff like that there too, where you're actually maybe penalized for doing certain things?
The marriage thing is the same. Like you
It's
would,
that way
if you got
there.
married, you would lose all your disability allowance.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be like a big thing over here as well. So yeah, there's certain different complications, which is, a bit mad to be honest. I
Yeah.
don't understand why, but it's what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Yeah. There's too much of that, it seems like.
Yeah, there's so much
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, is there anything else you kind of want to touch on that we haven't yet, or talk a little bit about any issue in particular?
Well, I think for me, like my big issue would be with transport. Like that would be a big issue. Like something that I've covered a lot. So like I would love to see like accessible transport for disabled people. Like even people don't realize that not all public transport is accessible.
Right.
And so that's like a big like sort of hurdle. Where we want to go out and do stuff and sort of what we discussed about the cars being so expensive. It's not always possible for us to be in that position to,
Right.
purchase cars, well, vans, I should say. But yeah, that's the thing. And I think public transport should be available to us because we need to attend medical appointments. If some of us, have jobs and work, we need to attend those as well and just be able to have a social life as well. That's the
Yeah.
big thing.
Yeah, I think that's definitely right. And, like when we can't afford our own vehicles with everything, we're forced more into public transport. And then if that doesn't offer, oh, there goes my dog now. If that doesn't offer help, I don't know what people do, to be honest. Like even when I was at my university, I'd be using the bus system. And
Hmm.
even though they had restraints for the chair, it was like, I felt endangered the whole ride, because it just was
Yeah,
not
yeah,
safe.
yeah,
So yeah, there's that. And then I don't know, have you tried like plane travel, boat? Well, I guess if you went to New York, you did plane, but like
yeah. I
plane
did.
or boat even, like what's your experience with any of that?
Yeah, I've done a bit of plane journeys over the years. New York was my longest one in a long, long time. Like I haven't done something like that in 10 years, I would say, which is crazy. But
Yeah,
yeah, I was able to manage, they had like an oil chair on the plane, so I
right.
was able to like use the bathroom and stuff like that, which was pretty cool because that's what I was sort of
So you
known
did
to
that
do.
in flight?
In flight, yeah, while we were up
Yeah,
in the air, which
yeah,
was pretty good. So airplane travel for me, the thing that I'd be worried about is like my chair getting damaged, like
right,
that's being like a big thing, or not being able to get on the flight because too many people have booked assistance. It's all
right.
these like different things.
Yeah,
Boat
yeah.
wise, I haven't really tried like boats in a way where I'm traveling to a place or another, but I've actually been on a couple of cruises.
I was
So
curious if you experienced
yeah,
that.
yeah, that was pretty cool to be honest. And I found them quite accessible, but where the problems lied were getting off the boat and then there not being, accessible transport to get you to a place. So you would
Right.
get in maybe to like a port and everybody
So
else
you
could
get
just
there
hop
and
on a
there's
bus.
nothing. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. So I think that's even a barrier in itself where it's like, that's not offered and you're paying the same price as everybody else. Even
right,
though I understand you're getting maybe the accessible experience on board, but like anybody else, you should have the right to just be able to get off and jump on one of those
right.
coaches.
And not have to be excluded from any of it when you're like, otherwise you should get discounts in the cost of it, I would think. So
Exactly. I
yeah,
completely agree with you on that. Like I think they should
yeah,
be upfront when you're booking something and say, oh, we're not going to have, buses that are accessible in these ports. You can walk to these
right,
places, but we won't make you pay as much because you're not getting the full service. So something like
right.
that could be fair if they, let you know. If they don't let you know, then yeah, that's just now.
So do you find yourself when you are going to travel or go on a cruise ship or anything, are you like doing, 10 extra steps trying to know like the surroundings, find the right places and travel options and everything like that?
Mm. Yeah, I really
Yeah.
am. And even when I was away in New York, like I have a sister living over there actually at the moment. So
Okay.
that's the only reason why I was sort of like, New York, I'll go there. But I've always sort of wanted to go because there's the touristy things and stuff.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, there was a
Yeah.
lot of like looking up things before I went and just to make sure they were accessible, especially the hotel. I always find that a big
Right.
thing when you're going to like stay in a hotel and you're like, oh, is this going to be accessible? You really don't know.
That's the tricky
Um,
one. Yep.
yeah, it is really tricky. And just, seeing if you'll be able to, do majority of things and if it's worth it. So yeah,
Yeah.
it is a tough one. It's a tough one to balance. And
Yeah.
yeah, like I love traveling, as I said, like I just absolutely love it, but there's so many barriers to it.
All the
And
extra variables and things you have to
yeah,
consider.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. That's the thing. And you have to make sure like things don't get lost. Like if I'm traveling and I have
Absolutely.
medication and I have the machine, I usually bring those in like another bag because usually the way it works in Ireland, most Irish airlines, they let you bring like a medical bag so you can bring that on board and you don't have to put it underneath. So I
Oh,
made that
okay.
mistake before where I've, dropped my bag off and yeah, it's been underneath and it's like, oh, the bag is lost. So yeah,
Oh
it's just certain
no.
things.
Wow. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, like I've had, several issues with the wheelchair getting damaged when I was able to
Mm,
still fly, and now I
yeah.
use, a portable ventilator and have all these supplies with that.
Hmm.
And so I'm just like, flying sounds just impossible to
Yeah.
me now.
Hmm.
But yeah, I remember I went to Seattle for a research conference years ago and I got there and my
Hmm.
chair, it wouldn't run, so like I was just stuck at the terminal. They unloaded me and it was just like, now what, am I just going to camp in the airport for,
Hmm.
2 days or something? But somehow I
Yeah.
got one of my wheelchair reps on the phone and they walked me through and somehow it started running again. So I was like,
Hmm.
just all the worries and anxieties of that alone
Hmm.
is just crazy on top of like the actual reason you're going to the place. So
That's the thing. Like, I understand people mostly would have their, worries of, oh, am I going to miss my flight or whatever? We have
like
so much
where am I
more
going to
added
get
on.
coffee before I take
Yeah,
off? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like, oh no, does this airport have this place or even a hotel? Oh, am I staying near here? Am I staying near there? It's all
Right.
these different
Right.
things. But yeah, for us, it's quite a different thing,
It's a laundry
and
list.
then yeah, like I know people as well who may have, different things like yourself who have more equipment than maybe I do, where they would use
Yeah.
both. So I know a lot of people would say that's easier. So I know
Yeah.
some people who like avoid planes completely.
Well, there's no incentive to really to use them unless you just, you have just, I guess, a small amount of equipment, or if you can feel like you can manage it, enough to,
Yeah.
with the risks involved. Yeah. Like I've thought about boat, maybe train, like as far
Mhm.
as like land-based travel too. So I don't know, it's
Yeah.
all the considerations are overwhelming for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I know a lot of people here in Ireland who would get the boat to England and who may have a lot of equipment. I
Yeah.
think maybe in the US you're lucky because you have so many different states. That's the thing, you have
Yeah.
options.
Pros and cons for sure.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, I guess the one last thing I kind of wanted to ask you about is like your community of like people you visited with on how to live with all the different things that MD
Mhm.
comes with. Like what is your network there? Are there in-person things or is it social media combination?
Well, it's mostly social media, to be honest. Like I do a lot of work with charity-based sectors in my
Yeah.
own country. So the Irish Wheelchair Association, Muscular Dystrophy Ireland. So they'd be like sort of the two main organizations I'd work with. I'd also do a bit of work with the Independent Living Movement of Ireland. So if anybody ever sees me at any of those events, like they can come up and talk to me or
Yeah.
whatnot. But yeah, most of the stuff I do myself is social media. So my social media account is Con McAuley. So that's ConMcAuley, and you can find me on Instagram or TikTok.
Okay. Nice. How's your TikTok experience been? Did you start early with that or
I
like
was sort
how's
of late. I was sort of a bit
yeah.
like, oh, photos are going to stay forever. Like, there's no way that that's going to go out of, fashion. And then all of a sudden, it was like videos were everywhere.
I know. Yeah.
So, I was always one of those people who was like a perfectionist, and I was like, no, content like that one is never going to work.
Yeah.
And it did work. So I had
Yeah.
to just adjust to the times, and I started up TikTok a little bit after Instagram. I think it was like 2 or 3 years later.
Okay.
But to be honest, like I'm more of an Instagram person than
Me
TikTok
too.
person. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'd have like
Like
more of
the
my like face on there.
Yeah, the user interface too, it seems like it's a lot friendlier for me at least with Instagram. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think I've gotten used to it over the years. Like I've had more time to use the app. Like I think I've used it now for maybe like 12 years or 13
Oh
years,
wow,
which is
okay.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that is crazy to think it's been around like that long. But yeah. Connor, I really appreciate you coming on and yeah, I'll include your information for anybody that wants to reach
It
out.
was really cool talking to you. Like I had a good time here, and yeah, I always find it interesting to talk to people in our, the disability community. So yeah, I really appreciate you having me on, and thanks very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully we'll keep in touch at some point, maybe meet in the future too. So
Of
yeah.
course,
Thanks
sounds great to
again.
me.